Tae-ho Kim wiped the sweat from his face as he checked the mining equipment one more time. The red sun of Kepler 442b was setting behind the rocky hills, painting the sky orange and purple. He had been working on this mining colony for 3 years now, and he knew every machine, every tunnel, and every rock formation by heart. The colony was not like the big cities back on Earth. Only 200 people lived here, mining rare metals that Earth needed for spaceships. Most days were quiet and peaceful, but today felt different. Today felt wrong. "Tae-ho, come here quick!" Dongwoo Park's voice crackled through the radio. Dongwoo ran the colony and was Tae-ho's best friend. They had grown up in the same neighborhood in Seoul before joining the space program. Tae-ho picked up his tool bag and jogged toward the main building. The colony looked like a collection of white domes connected by covered walkways. It was built to protect people from the harsh winds and strange weather of this alien world. When he reached the command center, he found Dongwoo staring at multiple screens showing red warning lights. Soo-jin Lee, the head of security, stood beside him with a worried look on her face. "What's happening?" Tae-ho asked. "Ships," Soo-jin said, pointing at the radar screen. 3 of them coming fast. "They're not answering our calls." Tae-ho felt his stomach tighten. Unknown ships usually meant trouble. Pirates, raiders, or worse things hunted in this part of space far from Earth's protection. "How long until they get here?" he asked. 20 minutes, maybe less, Dongwoo replied. "We've sent an emergency signal to Earth, but help won't come for days." Through the window, Tae-ho could see people running between the buildings. Families were gathering their children and moving toward the emergency shelters. But he was thinking about the refugee camp on the other side of the colony. 6 months ago, a damaged alien ship had crashed near their colony. The ship carried Villani refugees, cat-like people with silver fur and large, sad eyes. Their homeworld had been destroyed by some terrible war. Earth's government had agreed to let them stay temporarily, while they looked for a new planet to call home. The Villani were peaceful and gentle. They helped with farming and shared their knowledge of alien plants. The children were especially sweet, always curious about human technology and eager to learn. One little girl named Nari had become everyone's favorite. She was maybe 10 years old in human years, with bright silver fur and eyes that seemed to hold ancient wisdom. "What about the Villani?" Tae-ho asked. Soo-jin's face grew darker. "That's what I'm afraid of. These raiders, they might be slave traders. Alien refugees are valuable on the black market." Tae-ho's hands formed fists. He had heard stories about what happened to captured aliens. It made him sick to think about it. "The Villani are in Building 7, Dongwoo said. "We're moving them to the underground shelter now." "I'll help," Tae-ho said, already heading for the door. "No, we need you to prepare the mining charges," Soo-jin called after him. "If those ships land, we might need to blow up the mine entrance to stop them from getting the equipment." Tae-ho stopped. His job as an explosives expert was important, but his heart pulled him toward the refugee building. Still, he nodded and ran toward the storage area where they kept the mining explosives. The next 15 minutes passed like a blur. Tae-ho worked quickly, setting up charges around the mine entrance and the equipment storage. His hands moved automatically while his mind worried about Nari and the other Villani children. Then the ships arrived. 3 black vessels landed just outside the colony's protective wall. They were sleek and dangerous looking, built for speed and fighting. Tae-ho could see armed figures jumping out and running toward the colony buildings. His radio crackled. "They're inside!" Soo-jin's voice was tight with fear. "All security teams, fall back to the shelters." Tae-ho finished connecting the last explosive wire and started running toward Building 7. He had to make sure the Villani were safe. The building housed 30 aliens, including 12 children. As he ran, he could hear weapons firing in the distance. The raiders were moving fast, searching every building. Tae-ho's heart pounded as he reached Building 7. The door was open. Inside, he could see overturned furniture and signs of a struggle. Most of the Villani had been moved to the underground shelter, but he heard a small cry from the back room. Nari was there, crouched behind a fallen table. Her silver fur was dirty, and her large eyes were filled with terror. She had been left behind in the rush to evacuate. "Nari," Tae-ho called softly, not wanting to attract the raiders' attention. She looked up at him and tried to smile, but he could see she was shaking with fear. "Tae-ho," she whispered in her accented English. "Bad men came. Everyone ran. I hid. It's okay," he said, moving toward her. "We'll get you to the shelter." But as he helped her stand, he heard heavy footsteps outside the building. The raiders had found them. Through the window, he could see 3 armed men approaching the entrance. "This way," he whispered, leading Nari toward the back exit. They almost made it. The back door was just 10 meters away when the explosion happened. One of the raiders had thrown some kind of grenade into the room. Tejo saw the small metal device rolling across the floor toward them. He had maybe 2 seconds before it would explode and fill the room with deadly fragments. Nari was still moving toward the door, unaware of the danger behind her. She was small and slow, and there was no time for both of them to escape. Time seemed to slow down. Tejo looked at Nari's innocent face, then at the grenade, then back at her. In that moment, he thought about his parents back on Earth, about Dongwu, about all the things he would never do. But mostly, he thought about this little alien girl who had already lost everything once. Without thinking, Tejo threw himself between Nari and the explosive device. He grabbed a piece of metal plating from the damaged wall and held it like a shield, covering as much of Nari's small body as he could with his own. The explosion was louder than thunder. Hot metal fragments tore through the air like angry wasps. Tejo felt them hitting his back, his arms, his legs. Pain shot through his body like lightning, but he held the metal shield steady, protecting Nari from the worst of the blast. When the noise stopped, Tejo fell to his knees. He could taste blood in his mouth, and his vision was getting blurry. But Nari was alive. She was crying and calling his name, but she was alive and unhurt. "Run," he whispered, using the last of his strength. "Get to the shelter." Nari looked at him with those large, ancient eyes. For a moment, she seemed older than her years, like she understood something important was happening. She touched his face gently with her small hand. "Thank you, brave human," she said in her musical voice. "I will not forget." Then everything went black and Tejo Kim fell into darkness, believing he had given his life to save an alien child who had already lost too much. Tejo expected to wake up in a hospital bed if he woke up at all. Instead, he found himself lying on something soft and warm that seemed to pulse gently beneath him. His eyes opened slowly, and he saw a ceiling made of what looked like living crystal, glowing with soft blue and green light. This was not any place he knew. He sat up carefully, expecting pain from his wounds, but there was no pain. He looked down at his arms where he remembered the metal fragments hitting him. Instead of cuts and bandages, he saw thin silver lines running along his skin like delicate tattoos. They seemed to shimmer and move slightly in the crystal light. "You're awake," said a gentle voice. Tejo turned to see an elderly Villani woman sitting nearby. She was much older than any Villani he had met before. With fur that had turned white with age and eyes that held deep wisdom, she wore robes that seemed to be made from the same crystal material as the walls. "Where am I?" Tejo asked. His voice sounded strange in this place, like it was echoing in a large cave. "You are in sanctuary," the old Villani said. "I am Elder Kavi. You have been sleeping for 7 days." Tejo looked around the room more carefully. The walls curved and flowed like they had grown naturally rather than being built. Soft light came from everywhere and nowhere, making the space feel alive and peaceful. In one corner, he could see plants that looked like earth flowers but glowed with their own inner light. "Nari," he said suddenly, remembering why he was here. "Is she safe?" Elder Kavi smiled, and her whole face seemed to light up. "She is very safe." "She is the one who brought you here." "Brought me here? How? Where is here exactly?" The old Villani stood up slowly and walked to what Tejo now realized was a window. Outside, he could see an incredible underground city. Buildings made of the same living crystal rose from the floor of a huge cavern, connected by bridges that glowed with soft light. Villani people walked on the paths below, and he could see human figures among them. "Sanctuary is our hidden city," Elder Kavi explained. "We built it deep underground after we arrived on your planet. It is where the last free Villani live, protected from those who would harm us. But how did I get here? The last thing I remember was the explosion." Elder Kavi returned to her seat, her expression becoming serious. Nari performed the soul bridge ritual. "It is very old magic from the early days of our people. When someone willingly sacrifices their life to save a Villani, that person can be saved through the bond of gratitude." Tejo touched the silver lines on his arms. They felt warm under his fingers. "These marks, they show that the ritual worked. You are now connected to Nari and to our people. Your life force is tied to hers and hers to yours. You saved her, so she saved you." Before Tejo could ask more questions, footsteps echoed in the crystal hallway outside. A moment later, a human man entered the room. He was tall and strong-looking, maybe 30 years old, with the same silver markings on his arms and neck. "You're awake," the man said with a smile. "I'm Woojin Choi. I've been waiting to meet you." Tejo stared at the markings on Woojin's skin. "You have the same marks. I went through the Soul Bridge ritual 3 years ago," Woojin explained. "I was a soldier then, stationed on a transport ship. Pirates attacked us while we were carrying Villani refugees. I saved a young Villani boy named Keto from a plasma fire, nearly died doing it. And they brought you here too?" "Keto did, with the help of the elders. Best thing that ever happened to me." Woojin sat down on a crystal chair that seemed to form itself from the floor. "These marks aren't just decoration, Tejo. They change you, make you stronger faster, help you heal quickly, and they let you connect with Villani technology in ways no normal human can." Elder Kavi nodded. "The Soul Bridge was created long ago when our people first learned to work together with other species. It creates a bond that benefits both sides." "What happened to my colony?" Tejo asked. "My friends? The raiders left after they couldn't find what they were looking for," Woojin said. "Your friend Dongwu is safe. So is Sujin and the others. They think you died in the explosion." This news hit Tejo hard. His friends thought he was dead. His parents on Earth would receive a message saying their son had been killed in a raider attack. The thought made his chest tight with sadness. "Can I contact them? Let them know I'm alive?" Elder Kavi and Woojin exchanged looks. "It's not that simple," Woojin said carefully. "The bond changes you. You're not fully human anymore, and you're not Villani either. You're something new. Some humans might not understand." "What do you mean?" "The silver marks, the enhanced abilities, the connection to Villani technology. To most humans, you might seem dangerous or contaminated. There have been problems before when bonded humans tried to return to normal human society." Tejo felt lost and confused. He had saved a child's life and somehow ended up in an alien city underground, changed into something that wasn't quite human anymore. It was too much to understand all at once. "I know it's overwhelming," Woojin said gently. "I felt the same way when I woke up. But you'll learn to see it as a gift, not a curse." Just then, light footsteps could be heard in the hallway. Nari appeared in the doorway, but she looked different than Tejo remembered. Her silver fur was brighter and her eyes seemed to glow slightly. She was wearing clothes made from the same crystal material as the walls. "Tejo," she called out happily and ran to him. But as she got closer, Tejo felt something strange. He could sense her emotions, her joy at seeing him awake, her relief that he was safe. It was like he could feel what she was feeling inside his own mind. Nari hugged him carefully, and the silver marks on his arms seemed to respond, glowing slightly brighter. "I was so scared you wouldn't wake up," she said. "The elders said the ritual might not work because you're human, but it did work," Elder Kavi said with satisfaction. "The bond is strong between you two, perhaps the strongest we have seen." "What does that mean?" Tejo asked. "It means you and Nari can share more than just life force," the elder explained. "You can share thoughts, feelings, even abilities. She can help you understand our technology, and you can help her understand human ways of thinking." Nari stepped back and looked at Tejo with those large, wise eyes. "I can feel that you're sad about your friends," she said softly, "and scared about what you've become." Tejo was amazed. She really could sense his emotions. "Yes, I am." "Don't be scared," she said. "You're still you. You're just more than you were before, and you're not alone. We're connected now, forever." Woojin stood up. "Come on," he said. "Let me show you around Sanctuary. There are things you need to see and people you need to meet. This is your home now." As they walked toward the door, Tejo looked back at Elder Kavi. "Why do you call it the Soul Bridge ritual?" The old Villani smiled mysteriously. "Because it builds a bridge between souls, across the gap between different species. Your people and our people have more in common than either side realizes. The bridge helps us see that." Tejo followed Woojin and Nari out into the crystal hallway, still trying to understand what had happened to him. He had woken up in a beautiful alien city, changed into something new, bonded to a child he had saved from an explosion. His old life was gone, but maybe his new life would be something amazing. As they walked through the glowing corridors of Sanctuary, with Nari's small hand in his and the silver marks warm on his skin, Tejo began to think that perhaps dying to save her had been the best decision he ever made. Over the next few weeks, Tejo learned that Sanctuary was much larger than he had first thought. The underground city had thousands of Vellani living in it, along with about 50 humans who had all gone through the Soul Bridge ritual. Each human had their own story of sacrifice and rescue, and each had the same silver markings that showed their bond. Wu Jin became his teacher and guide. Every morning, they would meet in a large crystal chamber that served as a training area. Other bonded humans would be there too, learning to use their new abilities. The bond doesn't just heal you faster, Wu Jin explained as he demonstrated. He picked up a crystal device that looked like a complicated piece of machinery. As soon as his silver-marked hands touched it, the device began to glow and hum with energy. It lets you connect directly with Vellani technology. Tejo tried to pick up a similar device. At first nothing happened. Then he felt Nari's presence in his mind, gentle and encouraging. Suddenly the crystal device came alive in his hands, responding to his thoughts almost like it was reading his mind. "Amazing," said a voice behind them. Tejo turned to see a tall human man with silver markings that covered half his face. This was Hyunwoo Nam, who Wu Jin had told him about. Hyunwoo had saved an entire Vellani family from a burning building and was now one of their best warriors. "Usually takes weeks to learn that," Hyunwoo continued. "Your bond must be very strong." "It's because of Nari," Tejo said. He could feel her nearby even though she was in another part of the city attending lessons with other young Vellani. The connection between them was always there, like a warm light in the back of his mind. A female Vellani approached them. She was adult-sized with dark silver fur and intelligent eyes. She wore what looked like a scientist's coat made from the same crystal material. "I am Mi Young," she said in perfect English. "I study the bonds between humans and Vellani. May I examine your markings?" Tejo nodded and held out his arms. Mi Young produced a crystal scanner and ran it over the silver lines on his skin. The device made soft musical sounds as it worked. "Fascinating," Mi Young said, looking at the results. "Your neural patterns show complete integration. Most bonded humans take months to reach this level of connection." "What does that mean?" Tejo asked. "It means you and Nari are not just connected emotionally. Your minds are actually sharing information at a deep level. You're learning from each other without even realizing it." This explained why Tejo had been picking up Vellani language so quickly, and why he seemed to understand their technology better each day. Nari was teaching him through the bond, just as he was somehow teaching her about human ways of thinking. "There's something else," Mi Young continued. "The bond affects both sides. Nari has been developing new abilities too. She can sense danger from much farther away than normal Vellani, and yesterday she accurately predicted where raiders would attack a supply convoy." "Predicted the future?" Tejo was surprised. "Not exactly. But she seems to understand human military tactics now. Through her connection to you, your knowledge and hers are blending together." That afternoon, Tejo joined a group of bonded humans for combat training. The instructor was Jae Sung, a young man who had recently gone through the Soul Bridge ritual after saving Vellani children from slavers. "The key is to work together," Jae Sung explained. "Bonded humans are stronger when their Vellani partners are nearby, and Vellani are braver when they know their human partners are watching their backs." They practiced fighting techniques that used both human and Vellani strengths. Tejo found that when he concentrated, he could sense what the Vellani fighters were planning to do, making their teamwork incredibly smooth. But the most surprising thing happened when Nari arrived to watch the training session. As soon as she entered the room, Tejo felt his abilities increase dramatically. His reflexes became faster, his thinking clearer, and his connection to the crystal weapon stronger. "You see?" Wu Jin said with a grin. "The closer you are to your bonded partner, the more powerful you both become." After training, Tejo and Nari walked together through one of Sanctuary's beautiful gardens. The plants here glowed softly in the crystal light, and the air smelled like flowers from Earth mixed with something alien and sweet. "I've been learning about your world," Nari said as they sat beside a flowing fountain. "Through our bond, I can see your memories of Earth. The blue skies, the yellow sun, the green forests. It's very beautiful." "I've been learning about yours too," Tejo replied. "Your homeworld had 3 moons, and the trees sang in the wind." Nari's eyes grew sad. "All gone now. The destroyers came and burned everything." "Destroyers? The ones who hunt us across the stars. They destroy worlds and take survivors as slaves. They're why my people had to flee, why we live in hiding now." Teho felt anger rise in his chest. Through their bond, Nari could feel his emotions, and she looked at him with surprise. "You want to fight them?" she said. "Even though you don't know them, you want to protect my people?" "Of course I do. They hurt you, they hurt your family. That makes them my enemies too." Nari smiled, and Teho could feel her gratitude and affection through their connection. This is why the elders say humans are special. You make other people's pain your own pain. You fight for strangers like they are your family. That evening, Elder Kavi called Teho to her chamber. The old Villani was studying ancient crystal tablets covered with flowing script. "I have been reading the old prophecies," she said without looking up. "Stories written long ago before my people lost their home world." "What kind of prophecies?" "About a time when my people would find allies among the stars. The prophecies call them the shield bearers, warriors who would protect others without thought of reward." Elder Kavi finally looked up at him. "The prophecies say these shield bearers would come from a world of blue skies and green forests, and they would have hearts brave enough to die for strangers." Teho felt a chill run down his spine. "You think they were talking about humans?" "I think they were talking about humans like you. People who would throw themselves on an explosive to save an alien child they barely know." The elder stood up and walked to her window, looking out over the underground city. "The prophecies also say that when the shield bearers come, it will be because the final battle is approaching." "The destroyers are coming, Teho!" "And the bonds between humans and Villani may be our only hope of survival." Later that night, as Teho lay on his crystal bed thinking about prophecies and destroyers, he felt Nari's presence in his mind. Even though she was in her own home across the city, their bond let them share thoughts and feelings. "Are you scared?" she asked without words. "Yes," he admitted, "but not of dying. I'm scared of letting you down, of not being strong enough to protect everyone." "You won't let us down," came her gentle reply. "You already proved that when you saved me, and now we're stronger together than either of us could be alone." Teho closed his eyes and felt the warmth of their connection. His old life as a simple mining engineer seemed very far away now. He was something new, something that had never existed before. A human bonded to an alien species, sharing power and purpose across the gap between worlds. Tomorrow would bring more training, more learning about his abilities and responsibilities. But tonight he felt peaceful knowing that he had found his place in the universe. He was no longer just Teho Kim from Earth. He was a shield bearer, connected to Nari and to all the Villani people who needed protection. The silver markings on his arms glowed softly in the crystal light as he drifted off to sleep, ready for whatever challenges the future would bring. 2 months after Teho's awakening in Sanctuary, the warnings came true. Nari was the first to sense it during a quiet morning in the Crystal Gardens. She suddenly stopped walking and grabbed Teho's arm. Her eyes went wide with fear, and through their bond he felt a wave of cold terror wash over him. "They're coming," she whispered. "Many ships, very dangerous ones." Teho didn't question how she knew. The bond had taught him to trust Nari's special senses. He activated his emergency communicator and called Wu Jin. "We need to get to the command center now," he said. "Nari says ships are coming." Within minutes, alarms were ringing throughout Sanctuary. Elder Kavi and the other leaders gathered in the main crystal chamber, where they could see displays showing the space above their planet. Teho watched the screens with growing dread as dozens of black ships appeared, far more than the 3 raiders who had attacked his mining colony. "These aren't ordinary pirates," said Jinho, a Villani warrior priest whose fur was scarred from old battles. "These are military vessels, professional slave hunters." Wu Jin studied the ship formations with his soldier's eye. "They're setting up a complete blockade. No one gets in or out. And look at those larger ships. They have drilling equipment." "They know we're down here," Elder Kavi said quietly. Someone told them about Sanctuary. Teho felt sick. The underground city was home to thousands of Villani refugees, including hundreds of children. If the slave hunters broke through their defenses, it would be a massacre. "How long do we have?" he asked. "Their drilling equipment will take about 6 hours to break through our outer barriers," Mi-young replied, checking her crystal computer. "After that, maybe 2 hours before they reach the city itself." "What about calling for help?" Teho suggested. "Earth's space fleet?" Jinho shook his head sadly. "We sent emergency signals, but the nearest Earth ships are 3 days away." These hunters planned this well. The next few hours passed in a blur of preparation. All the bonded humans worked together with their Villani partners to prepare Sanctuary's defenses. The city had weapons, but they were mostly designed to collapse tunnels and seal entrances, not fight a full military assault. Taeho found himself assigned to the main defense team along with Woo Jin, Hyun-woo, and 12 other bonded humans. Their job was to operate the city's most powerful crystal weapons, which could only be used by people with the Soul Bridge markings. "Remember," Woo Jin said as they took their positions in the outer defense chambers, "we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for everyone who can't fight back." Nari stayed close to Taeho, helping him connect with the defensive systems. Through their bond, she could guide his understanding of the complex Villani technology. When his hands touched the crystal control panels, the weapons responded like they were part of his own body. The attack began at exactly 6 hours, just as Mi Young had predicted. The slave hunters' drilling machines broke through the first barrier with a sound like thunder. Immediately, armed soldiers poured into the outer tunnels. "Here they come," Hyun-woo said, watching the display screens that showed the tunnels leading to Sanctuary. The first wave of attackers was met by the outer defenses, automated crystal weapons that fired beams of pure energy. But the slave hunters had good armor and military training. They pushed forward steadily, losing soldiers but never stopping. Second barrier breached, Jinho reported from his command position. Taeho could feel Nari's fear through their bond, but also her determination. She was helping him aim the crystal weapons with incredible precision, using her special senses to predict where the enemies would appear. "Left tunnel," she whispered, and Taeho fired the energy beam just as 3 soldiers rounded the corner. "Behind the rock formation," she said next. And again his shot found its target. Working together, the bonded humans and their Villani partners created a defense unlike anything the slave hunters had expected. The humans provided tactical thinking and aggressive fighting spirit, while the Villani provided advanced technology and supernatural awareness. But there were too many attackers. For every soldier they stopped, 2 more took his place. "They're breaking through Sector 7, Woo Jin called out. "We need to fall back to the inner defenses." As they retreated deeper into Sanctuary, Taeho saw civilian Villani families running for the emergency shelters. Children clutched their parents' hands, their large eyes wide with terror. It reminded him of Nari on the day he had saved her, and his anger burned hotter. "I won't let them take these people," he said, his hands gripping the crystal weapons controls tighter. "Neither will I," came a familiar voice from behind them. Taeho turned to see Captain So-Ra Han, his former colleague from the mining colony. She was wearing Earth military armor and carrying advanced human weapons. "So-Ra, how did you get here?" "We detected your emergency signal and came as fast as we could," she explained quickly. "We only have 2 ships, but we brought some surprises for these slave hunters." Through the communication system, Taeho could hear Admiral Kyung-Soo Yoon talking to Elder Kavi. The Admiral sounded suspicious and worried. "These bonded humans of yours, are they still really human? Or have the aliens changed them into something else?" "They are more human than before," Elder Kavi replied firmly. "The bond makes them stronger in all the best human ways. Braver, more protective, more willing to sacrifice for others." "We'll see about that," the Admiral said. But then his tone changed as reports came in from the surface. "Wait, your defense systems are incredibly advanced. Our computers can't even understand how they work." "Human minds bonded with Villani technology," Elder Kavi explained. "Together, we can do things neither species could do alone." The battle reached its climax when the slave hunters broke into the main city area. Taeho and the other bonded humans had to leave their defensive positions and fight in the crystal streets of Sanctuary itself. But something amazing happened. As the fighting moved into the city, the bonded pairs became even more powerful. Nari stayed right beside Taeho, and their connection allowed them to fight like they shared the same mind. He knew where she would move before she moved, and she could guide his weapons to hit targets he couldn't even see. Around them, the other bonded pairs worked the same way. Woo Jin and his Villani partner Kito moved together like dancers, perfectly coordinated. Hyun-woo and his bonded family fought as a single unit, protecting each other and striking their enemies with devastating precision. Admiral Yoon, watching the battle through his ship's cameras, had never seen anything like it. Humans and aliens working together so perfectly that they seemed to share souls. Captain Han, he said over the radio. I'm beginning to understand. These aren't contaminated humans. They're evolved humans. The combined force of bonded defenders and Earth military finally pushed the slave hunters back. But the victory came at a cost. Several bonded humans were badly wounded, and part of Sanctuary's outer city was damaged. As the last of the enemy ships fled, Tai-Ho sat with Nari in the Crystal Gardens, both of them exhausted, but alive. Around them, human soldiers and Villani civilians worked together to help the wounded and repair the damage. You saved us, Nari said, leaning against his shoulder. We saved each other, Tai-Ho corrected, all of us working together. Admiral Yoon appeared in the garden looking thoughtful. I owe you all an apology, he said to Tai-Ho and the other bonded humans. I thought the aliens had changed you into something dangerous. But I see now that they've changed you into something wonderful. He looked around at the mixed groups of humans and Villani helping each other. This bond between your species, it's not just about individual people, is it? It's about what both species could become if they work together. Elder Kavi joined them, her ancient eyes bright with hope. The prophecy spoke of this day, when humans and Villani would stand together against the darkness. But this is only the beginning. What do you mean? Admiral Yoon asked. The old Villani pointed toward the stars visible through the crystal dome above them. The slave hunters were just scouts. The real destroyers are coming. The ones who burned our home world and hunt us across the galaxy. When they arrive, this bond between our peoples may be the only thing that can stop them. Tai-Ho felt Nari's hand slip into his, and through their connection, he could sense her mixture of fear and determination. The battle they had just won was only the first of many to come. But looking around at the human and Villani families working side by side, at the bonded pairs who had fought as one, at the crystal city that had become a symbol of cooperation between species, Tai-Ho felt ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. He had started as a simple mining engineer who threw himself on an explosive to save an alien child. Now he was part of something much larger, a new kind of alliance that could change the future of both species forever. 6 months after the battle for Sanctuary, Tai-Ho stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station, the first official human Villani colony. Through the large windows he could see a beautiful world with purple grass and silver trees, 2 suns setting behind distant mountains, and the lights of a growing city where both species lived and worked together. The colony was nothing like the simple mining outposts Tai-Ho remembered from his old life. Here, human engineering had combined with Villani crystal technology to create buildings that seemed to grow from the ground itself. The streets glowed softly at night, and gardens full of plants from both Earth and the lost Villani homeworld created parks where children of both species played together. It's more beautiful than I imagined, said Nari, joining him at the window. She had grown in the past months, not just physically but in confidence and wisdom. The frightened child he had saved from the explosion was now a young leader, helping other refugees adapt to their new lives. But the bond between them remained as strong as ever, a warm presence in both their minds. Hard to believe it all started with one moment of decision, Tai-Ho replied, thinking back to that day in Building 7 when he had thrown himself between her and the grenade. The best decisions usually happen in moments, Nari said with the wisdom that sometimes surprised him, but the results last forever. Through the station's corridors they could hear the sounds of a busy, growing community. Human engineers worked alongside Villani scientists to design new technology. Children from both species attended the same schools, learning each other's languages and histories. And in the medical center, human doctors worked with Villani healers to understand the Soul Bridge ritual and help create new bonded pairs safely. Dr. Young-Ho, the human scientist who had been studying the bonding process, had made incredible discoveries. The ritual didn't just connect individuals, it was actually helping both species evolve. Humans were developing enhanced intuition and connection to technology, while Villani were gaining human-style tactical thinking and emotional resilience. We're not becoming the same, Dr. Young-Ho had explained to Tai-Ho during his last medical checkup. We're becoming complementary, like 2 pieces of a puzzle that fit together perfectly. The success of Harmony Station had changed everything. When word reached Earth about the amazing things that bonded humans and Villani could accomplish together, the fear and suspicion vanished. Instead, thousands of humans volunteered to come to the colony world, hoping for a chance to form their own bonds with Villani refugees. but not everyone needed the ritual. Tejo had discovered something wonderful during the past months. Human and Villani children who grew up together naturally developed weaker but still real bonds. They could sense each other's emotions and work together with incredible coordination, all without any ancient rituals or silver markings. "Uncle Tejo," called a small voice. He turned to see a group of mixed-species children running toward him. There was Jinae, a human girl about 8 years old, holding hands with her best friend Kala, a young Villani with bright golden fur. Behind them came more children, human, Villani, and even a few who had parents from both species after successful medical treatments allowed interspecies families. "Will you tell us the story again?" Jinae asked with bright, excited eyes. "Which story?" Tejo pretended not to know, making the children giggle. "The explosion story," Kala said, her large Villani eyes sparkling, "about how you saved Nari and started everything." Tejo smiled and sat down on a crystal bench while the children gathered around him. This had become a regular request. The children loved hearing about the moment that began the alliance between their peoples. As he told the familiar story, the raider attack, the explosion, his decision to shield Nari with his own body, he noticed Minister Yunji Lim and Ambassador Kyle listening from nearby. They were the official representatives of Earth and the Villani people, working together to establish more colonies and strengthen the alliance. When the story ended and the children ran off to play, Minister Lim approached him. "Tejo, we need to talk," she said, her expression serious. "We've received some disturbing reports from our deep space monitoring stations." Ambassador Kale, a dignified Villani with silver-streaked fur and wise eyes, nodded gravely. "The destroyers, the ones who burned our homeworld, they have found us." Tejo felt his heart grow cold, but through the bond, Nari sent him strength and courage. "How long do we have?" "Perhaps 2 years," Ambassador Kale replied. "They travel slowly, but they bring many ships, enough to destroy entire star systems. But we're not the same people who ran from them before," Minister Lim added with determination. "We have something they've never faced, the alliance between humans and Villani." Over the following days, Tejo learned the full scope of the approaching threat. The destroyers were an ancient machine race that consumed planets for resources and enslaved any organic life they found useful. They had been hunting the Villani across the galaxy for generations, destroying every world where refugees tried to settle. But this time would be different. The combined human-Villani fleet was unlike anything the destroyers had encountered. Human tactical thinking and engineering, enhanced by Villani technology and intuition, created weapons and strategies that neither species could have developed alone. Tejo found himself appointed as a special coordinator, helping to train new bonded pairs and teaching military units how to work with Villani partners. His experience as the first successful bonded human made him valuable in ways he had never expected. "You've become a bridge between worlds," Wu Jin told him one evening as they watched the sunset from Harmony Station's highest tower. His old friend was now a military commander, training human Villani combat teams. "We all have," Tejo replied, thinking of the thousands of bonded pairs now living across human space. "Remember when we thought it was just about individual connections? Now it's about the survival of both our species," Wu Jin agreed. "And maybe something even bigger." That night, as Tejo lay in his quarters thinking about the approaching destroyer fleet, Nari contacted him through their bond from her own room across the station. "Are you afraid?" she asked without words, just as she had during their first weeks in Sanctuary. "Yes," he admitted, just as he had then, "but not of dying. I'm afraid of not being strong enough to protect everyone we care about." "You won't have to do it alone this time," came her gentle reply. "None of us will. That's what the bond taught us. We're stronger together than apart." The next morning brought news that filled Tejo with pride and hope. Captain Sora Han contacted him from Earth with an update that made him smile. "Tejo, you need to hear this," she said over the communication link. "Your parents saw the reports about Harmony Station on the news. They know you're alive now and they couldn't be more proud of what you've become." "What did they say?" Tejo asked, his voice thick with emotion. "Your father said that when he raised you, he hoped you'd become a good man. He never imagined you'd become a bridge between species and help save 2 civilizations." That afternoon, Tejo received another message, this one from Dongwu at the mining colony where everything had started. "My friend," Dongwu's familiar voice said, I always knew you were special, but becoming a legendary hero? That's a bit much, even for you. His voice grew serious. We're all volunteering to join the defense fleet. The whole colony. Everyone you saved that day. We want to fight alongside you when the destroyers come. As Tejo stood on the observation deck that evening, watching human and Villani families enjoy the peaceful sunset together, he reflected on the incredible journey that had brought him here. A simple mining engineer had thrown himself on an explosive to save an alien child. That moment of selfless courage had created bonds that would reshape the future of two species. Nari joined him again, now wearing the uniform of a junior diplomat. She would be helping to coordinate civilian evacuations if the destroyers broke through their defenses. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't saved me that day? She asked. Tejo considered this. The Villani would still be hiding in underground cities. Humans would still think you were just refugees to be pitied, and both our peoples would face the destroyers alone and unprepared. One moment of kindness changed everything, Nari mused. No, Tejo corrected gently. One moment of kindness revealed everything that was already there. Humans have always been willing to protect others. Villani have always been wise and strong. The bond just helped us see that we're better together. As if summoned by their conversation, a group of mixed families approached the observation area. Human parents with Villani children, Villani parents with human children, and bonded couples from both species. The next generation was growing up not as separate peoples, but as something new and wonderful. A young human boy, maybe 6 years old, tugged on Tejo's sleeve. Mr. Tejo, my Villani sister says you're famous. Is that true? Tejo knelt down to the boy's eye level. I'm not famous, little one. I just did what any good person would do. I helped someone who needed help. And that started all this? The boy asked, gesturing around at the peaceful mixed community. That's right. Sometimes the biggest changes start with the smallest acts of kindness.